Well, good morning folks. We're in mid-April. It's a beautiful day here in the heart of England. Now I'm down today in ancient Wessex, sort of on the Oxfordshire Wiltshire border. It's must be at least 20 degrees. We're having a little bit of a heat wave here. Got a plume of warm air come up from Africa. First little taste of a really warm spring, I think, here in the UK. And I'm into pastures new today on the bike, so today will be my longest ever ride on the bike. It's going to be 250 miles, and part of it's going to be in the company of a special guest on the channel, who you'll meet a little bit later on. When I originally planned this ride, it was going to be part of my Riding Through History series. I'm very much into history, as you know, and one of my passions actually is for the I suppose what most people call the Stone Age, actually. I'm a bit of an amateur archaeologist myself, and I'm always fascinated about the roots of our country here. So today we're going to go back an awful long way. We're going to go back probably something in the order of 6,000 years. Going to spend most of our time in the Neolithic period. Yeah, going to spend most of our time in the Neolithic period, but some of the things we're going to see today were actually built 6,000 years ago. So what I've got on the menu for you, and I might split this up over a number of films, so be patient, depending upon how much material I've got. But we're going to start with the Uffington White Horse. Real iconic symbol of ancient Britain. We're going to move from there to meet up with my mystery guest at the Three Horseshoes in Burbage, where I'm going to buy him some lunch. From there on to Stonehenge. Who hasn't heard of Stonehenge? And then from there on to Avebury, where I will bid goodbye to my mystery guest and I will head home. So all in all, we're looking at around about 250 miles. So I'm really having to pace myself today. So as you know, if you follow my Back to the Bike channel, for me everything's new. So today, believe it or not, the new thing is the fact that this is the first time I've been warm on a bike. And when I say warm, I essentially mean too warm. Put my fleece on this morning and I probably didn't need it, so I shall have to rectify that when I get off the bike. And also I'm just having to pace myself as well, because for me, I'm probably going to be on the bike today 6 or 7 hours. That's an awful long time. That's well over twice as long as I've ever been on it. So for many of you, I guess, you know, you guys who are riding across America, riding across Europe, Canada, Australia, probably feels like a small beer really, but for me it's a major step actually. So what I'm trying to do together is string together everything I've learnt in terms of obviously the roadcraft. Okay, it's just come into the little town of Wantage, you know. Get the bike under drive around these narrow turns. Yeah, so I've got to string together all the roadcraft, the route finding, the sat nav. Sat nav gave me a few problems early on. Wanted to take me some weird routes for some reason, so I had to sort of mentally override that. So a lot to think about today, but suffice to say, a little bit later on I'm going to get some help. So we'll just go through Wantage and then we'll pick up the other side of Wantage. Oh, that's impressive, isn't it? Now that looks like a vampire to me. I'll have to check that when I get home, but what's that doing there, and how on earth did he land it on that stick? Usually when you see something like that, it means there's been some kind of aeronautical heritage in the town, so I shall check that up afterwards and I'll put a little sign up for you. Wasn't expecting that. Yeah, sort of feel overdressed today, feels very warm actually. But I took the precaution of sticking a bottle of water in, because I know from my management training when you get dehydrated, the first thing to go is your concentration. The next thing to go is your eyesight. So important, I think, on a day like today, just to keep myself properly hydrated. And just to say, I'm really enjoying the feedback, by the way, really enjoying the comments on the channel. I hope you are too. I hope you are, you know, for those, obviously we've got a mix of folks there, haven't we? Got some clearly very, very accomplished riders, and some have done it professionally. So plenty for all of us to learn, I'm sure. But I very much appreciated that discussion, so please do keep the comments coming. We're a friendly bunch, try to avoid controversy, and just enjoy each other's cyber company. And every now and again, like today, a chance to actually meet someone. Today will be the second person I've actually met from the channel, so it's bearing fruit already, and who knows what the future will bring. Right, so this is where we start to get out of town again now. But suffice to say, we're going to be getting through some beautiful countryside today, and some of the most impressive archaeology on planet Earth as well. Forests, hills, stone circles, you name it, we'll be going there. Sat nav seems to be working again. Now for some reason it went on a bit of a sulk when I set off. I don't know, for some reason it seems to want to avoid all the sort of main quickish roads that should have got me to my destination a little bit faster. So because I knew the first part of the route anyway, I just elected to ignore that. But now I really do need it, because these roads I actually don't know. Just keep an eye, we've got a parked Land Rover up here. Right, just pulling in. Okay. Got picked up on my last IM observe about moving my head more, so if you do see my head jerking around today, the picture jerking head, I do apologise, but I'm under orders. Got to be seen to be moving my head more, but also the whole point of doing it is to really try to suck up all the information that's out there by better observation. So trying to read these roads ahead, trying to read the hedgerows, not just use the vanishing point, but to actually look even further so I can predict where I'm going. Stop sign. I got caught out on the stop sign, and I am observed. Anybody see me? Sort of came to a sort of a rolling stop, but didn't actually stop. But when it says stop and there's a solid white line in the UK, you really do have to stop. Never stop learning. Keep coming away thinking I know most of it, and then suddenly the next set of observes come in and I just realise I've got a whole load more stuff in the in tray that I've got to think about. Roads look a decent quality here actually, quite narrow. I think for me these are sort of third gear type roads. I can look well ahead here. Feed that information into the computer, the mental computer, about where to position the bike. Crossroads. Mirror check. Yeah, we're okay. Moving out to the right for the left-hander. Absolutely beautiful here. Junction on the right. Such fourth gear. good, marking the potholes. And the ubiquitous red kite overhead. Give way to the yellow van. I think it's so important today to be able to stop in the distance I can see to be safe. We've got lots of these sort of, just like this bend up ahead where we got the sort of a blindish right-hander. Shadows, the road is heavily dappled with shadows, so again I can't really work out what the road surface is. There is a little bit of sort of gravelly mud around, not as bad as the stuff I found in Buckinghamshire that I moaned so much about. And also the various county councils around the country are actually now getting on with repairing potholes, which is good, but just want to keep an eye open for those. And as always, I need to learn to relax my hands a little bit, because as I tend to get more what's the word, under pressure, you know, by the environmental conditions, the roads or the surface, or maybe I've made a navigational error, then my grip tends to tighten up, which of course affects the handling of the bike. So, and because I've got such a long ride today as well, I really want to sort of what's the word, I want to manage my Uffington White Horse. Yeah, I want to sort of manage and measure my my energy levels really, because I've got an awful long way to go. I don't want to run out of mental energy before the end, affect my concentration. So we're starting to rise a little bit now. And on the right is what's called the Vale of the White Horse. And the theory is that this absolutely huge white horse was carved into the hillside as, or rather one theory is that it was carved into the hillside as a warning, as a proclamation to different tribes. I don't know how well you know your Iron Age history in the UK, but yeah, you see there's a bit of a dodgy road surface. But yeah, probably you go back to about 1000 BC up to around about probably something in the order of I'd say probably about 100 BC, something like that. You get into I'll forget this little corner here. Yeah, you get into what's called the Iron Age, and at that time there were probably, off the top of my head, probably about 8 or 10 major tribes. Into what later became known as England. England, of course, didn't appear until the Anglo-Saxons arrived in the 6th century AD. But yeah, so the theory is, was this white horse almost like one of the badges or emblems declaring the territory belonging to one of the tribes actually in this part of the UK at this time. So as you see, you can see the ground again is just rising away to our left now. And there, that distinctive hill right ahead of us, there is what's known as Dragon Hill. Now, you won't get a better view actually than the one I'm going to give you today, but there it is. And this is reputedly where King George slayed the dragon. And on the top of Dragon Hill there is a patch of bare sort of earth, and the earth around here, by the way, is very chalky. So yeah, there's Dragon Hill in front of us. Yep, Dragon Hill. I'll just take a little walk up there if I can find somewhere to stick the bike. This is a stunningly beautiful place. The ground drops away here to the left, and there's almost a huge amphitheatre, and it makes me wonder, was that actually used for something in ancient times? It's almost like a bowl for a modern rock concert. But yeah, we'll walk up Dragon Hill. Just take a little look. And you can see the top is completely flat. And again, I imagine this must have been used for ritual purposes. And you can see the whole sort of bowl opens out in front of us. In front of us over here is the Vale of the White Horse. Sort of looking northish, something like that. And here is the patch of bare earth where the dragon's blood came onto the ground, and it is reputed that nothing has grown here ever since. So St. George reputedly stood here and slayed the dragon. What a beautiful place. You can just imagine as sort of a proud Englishman, something like Jerusalem belting out here, or Land of Hope and Glory. Wonderful. And now, if we look up the hill here, you can probably just about make out what almost looks like a path, actually. Just here, over my sort of right finger, and that's the tail of the horse. Now, we'll walk up there and we'll have a better look in just a second. But if you were another tribe looking over to where this tribe lived, and by the way, there's an Iron Age hill fort on top of this hill. So if you were looking over here, would you really see that? So was that horse actually designed for people to see, or I suppose I've got a theory of my own. What actually was it designed to point at the sky? Was it some kind of a message to the gods they worshipped in those days? I do actually wonder. I mean, obviously nobody really knows. Some scientists from Oxford University did some fancy geological chemical analysis on the chalk that's actually comprises that white horse there, and the horse has been dated somewhere between 1300 BC to 800 BC. So basically, it puts it sort of smack in the middle of the sort of late Neolithic and very early sort of Iron Age period. So we're looking at 3,000 years of history here. Morning.
Hello, morning.
Beautiful day.
See the white horse. Where is?
It's on the top of the hill.
Oh, so
Yeah.
which angle can
Well,
we see?
I would say, well, do you know what this is? This is Dragon Hill.
Oh, that's the Dragon Hill.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so
okay.
have you heard of St. George?
St. George.
Yeah, so St. George killed the dragon on the top of the hill.
All right.
Yeah, this actually happened, by the way. Yeah.
Okay.
Where are you from?
From China.
You're original from Beijing, China.
Oh, right, okay. So do you live in the UK now?
We live in London now.
Oh, right, okay, right, yeah.
Otherwise, too far from China.
Right, well, St. George of England
Yeah.
reputedly killed the dragon on top of the hill.
Okay.
And if you go on top of the hill, you'll see there's a big patch of white earth. And that is supposedly where the blood of the dragon fell, and nothing has ever grown there ever since. And this really happened, obviously. So now if you go up there, you'll get a better view of the dragon. Sorry, a better view of the horse, and that you can just about see the tail of the horse there.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, this is the only platform we can see the white horse.
Yeah, you'll see. Yeah, you'll see. Well, that is the white horse there.
Oh, here. Then.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, just if you look along my
It's really
finger. Yeah.
hidden. Yeah.
Yes. If you walk up, you can actually walk along it. So,
Yeah, I will.
but you'll get a slightly better view from up there.
Yeah, lovely. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, we saw that and that's we lost. Where is the white horse now?
Well, the thing is now you're going to be on YouTube because I'm making a film. You see, so.
Are you?
Oh, yeah, making a film with my camera. So yeah, so
I would like to see myself then.
Yeah, you will. Yes. Yeah. It's if you want to make a note, it's called Back to the Bike.
Oh,
back to the bike, and
back to the back.
back to the. So I'm a motorcyclist. So back to the bike,
Okay.
and 2 is a number 2. Back to the bike.
Okay, number 2.
Yeah. So the film will be up in about 2 weeks' time, something like that, and you'll see yourself on it. You'll be famous.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad to.
Yes. Yeah. I'm here today. Then I'm going to go to and Avebury as well. So.
Oh, lovely.
The whole
Great
lot.
trip, right?
Yeah.
And the weather will be lovely.
Oh,
great.
it's beautiful, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. And the next few days is really
Yes.
great. Yeah.
Well, you have a nice day anyway.
All right, okay.
Lovely to have met you.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Happy to talk to you, Nanny.
Yeah. God bless you.
Very cool. Very
cool.
Yeah. I'm too warm now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Back to the bike. All right. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to walk up to the White Horse now. Okay, so hear me puffing away there. A little bit of a pull up that hill, and when you first see this, you think it's a path. It's not a path at all. It's actually the tail of the White Horse. And that's the White Horse's back leg. And every year the local local villagers come up and clean it all off. Make sure it's nice and white and stands out. I guess this is where you need a drone, really. Show the thing in its full glory. But hopefully you can get a sense of the size of it. Note to self, must get some miles in my legs, never mind on the RT. Got very out of condition over the winter. Right, so here's the head of the horse. Right, here we go. So, passing now the, you can't see it, but we're actually passing the Iron Age hill fort up and to our left-hand side. A very narrow track here. And here's the proper car park. It's a beautiful place, windswept. Literally it feels like stepping back 3,000 years when you come up here. And that white building you can just about make out on the horizon on that right hand side there, I think is the Honda car factory at Swindon. So we're going to leave the White Horse now and Dragon Hill. We will bid St George farewell and thank him for slaying the dragon on our behalf. We're really in the southern part of the Cotswolds here, absolutely beautiful. Lovely farms and thatched cottages, decent breweries. Not that we shall be partaking of any beer today, unfortunately. But just a beautiful part of the world and a real sense of ancient Britain here as well. Unspoilt really. Just these lovely rolling uplands, which of course in the UK we call downs. These sort of, you know, unspoilt sort of rolling heathland elevated areas. Another new thing for me today is insects. You know, I tend to, I guess like a lot of you, I tend to flip my my visor up when I come into a 30 zone just to get a bit of a blast of fresh air, and I got whacked in the left eye about 5 minutes ago, so yet another new experience. Well, we've somehow ended up in Swindon here, so the sat-nav hasn't brought me the route I actually wanted to come into Marlborough through. Never mind. It's a bit like you seem to feed the sat-nav 6 with the route that you want. When you look at the picture on the map before you set off, you think, yeah, that's the one I wanted. And when you actually get underway, it seems to get its own ideas about where it wants to take you. So we're heading south from Swindon down to Marlborough. The Marlborough Downs are on our left. A number of stables are based up there for those of you interested in horse racing. Very much looking forward to meeting my my mystery guest on the channel today. Yeah, it feels like a very special day. This is again, I think maybe some of you have seen my Rutland TT videos, and that was a milestone because at the time that was my longest ever ride out, and it was a test. I picked a pretty good day. It was just really about proving technique. Well, today I feel is another of those milestones really, because it's the first time I've ever spent a day in the saddle. So I've made sure to build in plenty of stops and refreshes. I had a good sort of half an hour there back at the Uffington White Horse just to rehydrate myself, put a bottle of water in, just take a breather. But yeah, this is just spending a whole day, probably 240-250 miles I'll be doing today. So, question for you folks is, when you are spending a day ride out, how do you organise yourself? I mean, do you put water in? Do you? How often would you stop? How do you manage it? What about defining your route as well on your sat navs? How do you do those? What's your planning for a full day out in the saddle? Or do you just get on and off you go? An inspired ride? Or do you plan? Let us know what you think. I'm very curious. So this hill ahead of you, last time I came up this hill on a motorbike was 1979. Girlfriend on the back, father and family in the car behind, and I was on a Suzuki GS 550 at the time, and trying to keep ahead of him really. A little bit of a race going on. And they lived in the village that we're about to go and have our meal in. So, into the Savernake Forest. Beautiful place to bring the dog, do a bit of orienteering, collect mushrooms. And the Savernake Forest at one time was owned by Jane Seymour's father, who later went on to become the father-in-law of King Henry VIII, and looks like we've got the army ahead of us here. Maybe war's broken out and I don't know. But yeah, so back, I digress anyways, but yeah, so her father actually owned the forest, and young Henry came here hunting, and I think he just chopped off, memory serves me correctly, just chopped off his previous wife's head, as you do when you get fed up, and later married Jane Seymour, and I think she died in childbirth. Now I'm looking out for what's called the fat-bellied oak, which is an 1100-year-old oak tree, and there it is, the fat-bellied oak. Yeah, it was, they reckon it was probably planted around about the same time as William the Conqueror invaded England. Imagine it can tell a story or two. One of the oldest trees in England, actually. But yeah, years ago when I used to visit the old girlfriend, I used to come down on the motorbike, and I told you about the Suzuki GS 550. The first bike I ever visited her on was actually probably my favourite bike actually, which was the Honda CB 250 Dream. Lovely sort of blue colour, a little bit underpowered, but it was just so comfortable. And at the time I hadn't passed my motorbike test, which meant that when I was travelling down from Lancashire, probably best part of 250 miles, something like that, I couldn't use the motorways, so I had to come all through the A roads and B roads. True love, eh? And we're coming to our destination. First, rather second stop. First stop was the Uffington White Horse. So I shall bid you farewell for this video, and we shall go and meet our mystery guest. Tune in next time, and thanks for watching.